And that was why like I eventually like pivoted Brands End into a content marketing agency, because I saw that like content in general is a fairly stable business that people need on an ongoing basis. And I would
Yep.
recommend that like anybody, if you're trying to do this agency freelancer type of approach, find a type of product that you can sell on a like recurring basis. So now with like Viber SaaS, it's a full stack agency for startups. We do a lot of things, but it's primarily focused on like content, social media. There's some automation things and stuff and ways to scale it. But I focus primarily on the repeatable things that people need to do marketing, demand generation, and go to market. Like I try to really avoid websites, right? Like I've made a lot of websites and I like doing them actually, but I just refer people to a partner or someone I know who is fantastic at them, but I don't want to take on website design. And I typically try to avoid really big one-off projects that end.
I completely agree there. So I think that's kind of like the main difference between a side project and a business is just how repeatable the process is, right? Like a side project or a side hustle might not be able to, you can't replicate, you can't hire somebody to take that over for you. And then if you're starting an agency as well, it really, at the end of the day, is some sort of labor arbitrage. So can you find people that pay you more money and you can hire somebody for cheaper than the cost?
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe way to tie this in for when scaling over 10K a month, right? When you get to 20, 30, 40, 50K a month, like ideally you need it to be repeatable. So that part is
Ideally, it
important.
has to be, well, it has to be repeatable. It's okay for you to not know what that is. You can leverage a lot of like the price discovery to do that, right? Like at one end of the scale is you're very, very creative. Every single piece of content or deliverable is unique from other things, but then you need to charge a ton of money to make it worthwhile. On the other end, it's like completely productized. You're just coming off of an assembly line, so you might charge at a very low price, but then it's highly deliverable. And then usually the answer is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And that's what I've been coaching or kind of coaching, talking to a lot of my friends about is like,
Yeah,
how do you productize what you do? And
yeah,
and
correct.
and and that's why that's why like this part I think is super important. And like you don't need to figure it out in the beginning, right? Just get some
No,
projects. That's how I started. Just like take on some stuff. Like I did design projects at the beginning because like I just needed the money and I was good at them and I was able to get them right. And so I
yeah,
knew that wasn't like a repeatable business, but there's a way to do it. I've even recommended to people like make it like a design service. So and if it's a design service, you want to focus on like marketing graphics, things that people need on an ongoing basis, banner ad. Like websites are
yep,
generally not something people need every month, right?
correct. Yep,
So think about that and like how do you productize that, right? I think any of your services coming up with a productized way where it's like I charge this amount of money a month. These are the general deliverables that you get, and like I want you to keep working with me for a long time. And if you use that as like your kind of guiding principles, like that's the focus, right? A consistent payment. It's like a SaaS. It's exactly like a SaaS service, but it's like for your service, right?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so you just think about how do you frame it like that, and how do you present it in a way to people that it's like a service that they buy and that they get on a monthly basis. I love what you just said too about like from ultra custom to fairly templated. And
Exactly.
that took me a long time, like to figure this spectrum out. And I even have customers that fall in different spaces, and to some degree, that's what defines my kind of pricing tiers. Like I have like kind of a low tier where it's fairly templatized. I spend a lot of time like building out templates, thinking through like how I approach go to market, building like a marketing plan that's fairly cookie cutter for people. And I kind of know it for the most part. If you're a B2B SaaS company, you're bootstrapped, you're a
Yeah.
solo founder, you got 3 guys, like I kind of know what you need to do. And that stuff is pretty straightforward. And I can really templatize that stuff and they get a ton of value from it. But as you grow and scale, you need a little bit more customization
Right.
to what you're doing. And I think that's exactly the right way to think about like from a pricing perspective and how you scale. And I think that could be applied to a lot of businesses. Like how do you make it really templated
Totally.
and like low cost? And how do you
Totally.
make it more custom and charge more?
And then there's a lot of contradictory things along this. So like that's one massive piece that I had to learn is just how to templatize and figure out where my pricing lands in the market.
Mm.
And the second thing is like, so I'm going to say something that's completely contradictory to what I just said.
Okay, I'm ready.
Lowest paying clients usually demand the most, right? So like businesses that's paying, or as you charge more and more money, the larger clients they become, they usually demand or less.
Yeah,
So
that's a really interesting point. My experience has been that lower cost people, I never had trouble servicing them, but they churned. They
right,
come in, they go out, right? Which is fine too. That's why it goes back to my like, always have a massive pipeline, always be
right,
out there marketing. You never know when a big customer too is going to churn, so you need to
correct,
always have a lot of demand.
correct,
But
correct.
yeah,
So you
in general,
can't get rid of them.
yes,
So this is like a problem for service companies is the lower because the lower end to your customers things are not working as well, so you have to try a bunch of different things versus like the higher paying clients. It's okay, usually they know exactly what they want, so you just have to deliver the thing,
yes,
right?
exactly.
So it's like, yes, there's a pricing grid where you do less work for lower paying, but then the client, their expectation is almost reverse, where the lower paying people demand more things from you, and the higher paying people, they know what they want, so you can align really fast.
Yeah,
So
that's great feedback. I agree. I even go as far as say like, so what I've been recommending to everybody is just get a lot of customers in the door and
correct,
let some people churn. And what's happened
that's
for
right,
me is like I've had some people who like they're not the highest paying customer, but they've been with me for like a really long time and it works really well. And it gets to a point where it's not a lot of work to service them and they're really happy because like they get exactly what they want. And for them, the switching costs become high. So it is
yeah,
possible to have the same experience, at least my experience. Possible to have like lower tiered customers who are excellent customers. I just think you need to have a lot of them and find the ones who are good.
yeah,
There's maybe 10% where I think you're totally correct that like large customers, they're bigger budget, they're further along in their business, they're more organized, they generally have a good sense of what they're looking for and they look for a great fit and then they don't
yeah,
churn, right?
yeah,
So you're just gonna have a higher percentage of them who stay.
yeah. This is a really good conversation because like, so you can, if you just focus on the surface, so do good work, right, get referrals, charge more money, that'll get you to like $10,000-$20,000 a month. And then going from 20 to let's say $80,000 at the $1 million mark, you need to
Mhm.
start thinking about how to productize your agency and service. So, like, the way that I think about those lower end customers that are still paying with me for a really long time, they're as if they're productized. As in,
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has subscriptions that they still pay like $20-$30 for that they haven't used in the last, like, I don't know, 2-3 months, right? A lot
Mhm.
of, for example, I'm sure a lot of AI tool, a lot of their revenue is coming from people that just forgot that they subscribed to this thing,
Yeah.
right? So like you can charge at the lower end. The thing that you're giving them is access to your product or your agency for like knowledge. So the thing that you can offer these people is whenever some new piece of thing that works, you can think back to them and be like, hey, look, here's a cookie cutter thing that you can do now and you'll get immediate value. But that might
Yeah.
not happen every single week, every single day.